For centuries, Afghanistan has been called the graveyard of empires, a place where the world's most powerful nations have seen their ambitions crumble. But today, we're not just looking at the past. We're rediving into a modern geopolitical chess match that's just as complex and far more consequential. This isn't just about the United States and Afghanistan. There's a third crucial player whose influence is often misunderstood or overlooked: Iran. How did these three countries, each with their own unique history and goals, get tangled up in one of the most intricate geopolitical webs of the 21st century? The story is full of surprising alliances, bitter rivalries, and strategic calculations that will reshape an entire region. Let's rewind to late 2001. In the aftermath of the September 11th attacks, the United States invaded Afghanistan to topple the Taliban regime, which was harboring al-Qaeda. You might be surprised to learn who America's quiet, yet significant partner was in this initial phase: Iran. That's right. Iran, despite its axis of evil label from Washington, shared a common enemy in the Taliban. The Taliban, a Sunni extremist group, had brutally persecuted Afghanistan's Shia Hazara minority, a group with deep cultural and religious ties to Shia-majority Iran. Tehran even had its own score to settle after several of its diplomats were killed by the Taliban in 1998. So, Iran provided crucial intelligence and even political support for the formation of a new Afghan government at the Bonn Conference. It seemed for a brief moment that a common enemy might forge an unlikely partnership. But this fragile cooperation didn't last. The axis of evil speech in 2002 shattered any goodwill. From Tehran's perspective, they had helped the U.S. remove two of their biggest regional threats, Saddam Hussein in Iraq and the Taliban in Afghanistan, lead to find themselves surrounded by American military bases and branded as the next target. This perceived betrayal pushed Iran to adopt a new, more complex strategy. They couldn't afford a stable, pro-American Afghanistan on their eastern border, so they began to play a double game. On one hand, they maintained official diplomatic and economic ties with the government in Kabul. Iran became one of Afghanistan's largest trading partners, and millions of Afghan refugees found shelter and work in Iran. This gave Tehran significant soft power and influence. On the other hand, reports began to surface, which Iran has consistently denied, that its Revolutionary Guard Corps was providing low-level support, including funding and weapons, to certain factions of the Taliban. Now, why would Iran support its old enemy? It wasn't about ideology. It was pure strategic hedging. The goal was to keep the United States bogged down, to make the occupation costly and difficult, and to ensure that no single group, especially one hostile to Iran, like ISIS, could dominate Afghanistan if the U.S. were to leave. It was a strategy designed to bleed the American presence, ensuring that whoever ultimately came out on top in Afghanistan would have to reckon with Tehran's influence. For the U.S., this was a nightmare scenario. They were fighting a war where their adversary was allegedly being sustained, in part, by a country they were simultaneously trying to isolate on the world stage. This brings us to the pivotal moment: the U.S. withdrawal in August 2021. The chaotic scenes at the Kabul airport marked the end of a 20-year American project. For Iran, this was a moment of both opportunity and immense risk. The immediate win was obvious. Their primary rival, the United States military, was gone from their doorstep. The great Satan had packed up and left. But the victory was short-lived, replaced by a much more complicated reality. The Taliban, their old frenemy, was back in power. While Iran had hedged its bets by maintaining channels with the group, the Taliban's return presented a host of new problems. First, there's the security issue. The collapse of the Afghan state created a massive power vacuum. This became a breeding ground for other extremist groups, particularly ISIS-K, a sworn enemy of both the Taliban and Iran. ISIS-K has launched brutal attacks against Afghanistan's Shia Hazara population, which is a red line for Tehran. A volatile, unstable Afghanistan could easily spill over the 900-kilometer border, creating a massive security headache for Iran. Then, there's the refugee crisis. Decades of conflict have already pushed millions of Afghans into Iran. The 2021 collapse triggered a new wave, straining Iran's already sanctioned and struggling economy. Water disputes over the Helmand River have also flared up, as the Taliban now controls the flow of a crucial water source for Iran's arid eastern provinces. So, where do things stand now? The United States is in a difficult position. After withdrawing, its ability to directly influence events on the ground is severely limited. Its main priorities are counter-terrorism and ensuring Afghanistan doesn't become a safe haven for groups like Al-Qaeda or ISIS-canned humanitarian concerns. But without a presence, it has to rely on over-the-horizon capabilities and regional diplomacy, which is where things get tricky. Washington has no official relationship with the Taliban and a deeply adversarial one with Iran. Iran, meanwhile, is forced to perform a delicate balancing act. It has not officially recognized the Taliban government, using recognition as leverage to push for a more inclusive government that protects the rights of Shias and other ethnic minorities. At the same time, it must maintain a working relationship with the Taliban to manage border security, trade, and the ever-present threat of ISIS. Tehran is hosting meetings, engaging in diplomacy, and trying to position itself as a key regional power broker, filling the void left by the U.S. They see a chance to integrate Afghanistan into their own sphere of economic and political influence, away from Western sway. And for Afghanistan, the future is uncertain. The country is facing a devastating humanitarian crisis, international isolation, and an ongoing internal struggle for control. The Taliban's ability to govern effectively is constantly being tested, not just by international pressure, but by internal divisions and the persistent threat from ISIS. The Afghan people are caught in the middle, their fate dependent on the decisions made, not just in Kabul, but in Tehran and Washington. This complex triangle of interests shows that the end of America's war was not the end of the story. Instead, it was the start of a new, uncertain chapter in the Great Game, with Iran moving from a disruptive player on the sidelines to a central character on the main stage. The decisions these three countries make in the coming years will determine not just the future of Afghanistan, but the balance of power across the entire region. What we're witnessing is a masterclass in modern geopolitics, where there are no permanent friends or enemies, only permanent interests. The U.S. withdrawal may have looked like an end, but it simply reset the board for a new, more complex game. The interplay between American strategic withdrawal, Iranian regional ambition, and Afghan internal turmoil is a story that is far from over. Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis insightful, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive.